before we go to the rankings, where would you rank Mario right now among the ACC coaches?
ACC, let me see. Behind Dabo, Dave Doran from North Carolina State.
Very, very good.
Behind
coach.
Mac Brown, behind Norvell.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put him fifth.
All right, so listen, I'm going to put Dave Clawson up there because I definitely think that he definitely is one of the guys that does more with less. I kind of feel like he does more.
Wait for it.
Yeah. I mean, he just seems to just keep getting it done. And we were talking about whether or not the big boys that spend all the money in their football program should get more money out of the coffers. When it comes to up in the ante, all the ACC chatter that was going on last week and the week before that. Wake Forest says we're barely getting enough money to keep our budget going with such a small enrollment. He has done a pretty dang good job too. He really has.
Yeah.
All right,
but the ACC is still I call it the Clemson Invitation.
You are not wrong, my friend. You are not wrong at all.
Dabo has 7 ACC titles and 2 national championships. A plethora of players going into the NFL. The domination. Listen, I remember where I was when I knew Clemson was. I remember I was at a Miami Hurricanes game, and Clemson was playing Miami.
Right.
And they beat us 56-3. I was at the game. I was sitting in the players' suite, and I looked at that game and I said, "We're in trouble." Who
was the quarterback at that
point? Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson was the quarterback.
And you didn't for that game. We're in trouble going forward.
Listen, that's the game that Al Golden got fired. Yeah. But I just remember the
you were in trouble for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. I just remember that their talent pool compared to ours was like freaking night and day.
I left at halftime.
Oh, it was terrible.
I was at that game.
You was at that game?
I was with my parents, 2 Clemson alumni. I made them leave early. And we were driving home, and as I was hearing the post-game show on the radio, they were interviewing Golden, and he was talking about, next week's game. I screamed.
Next week's game?
I was like, you're not going to be here next week.
Magic Johnson gif. JJ, this is why you need to turn This is why you need to turn your camera on the 1010XL live cam. The folks needed to see that emotion.
Sorry.
That sheer emotion.
Oh man, I was stunned. I didn't even have my expression, my facial expression watching that game was just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Because the speed and the talent of Clemson was just so. It was just up there. Miami was just, and I wasn't used to seeing Miami like that. Yeah. I was used to Miami doing that to other teams, and Clemson was treating us like, I don't know, Long Beach State. Do they have a team?
I don't know if they do.
I don't know if they have a team with that. But that's what we looked at.
Yeah, after getting beat like that, they probably dissolved it. But yeah, that's what it feels like. And when you know that you don't have the Jimmies and Joes, and you also don't have the leadership, which Al Golden was just a fail. There's no other way to get around it. All right, so when I'm looking at it, I gotta recognize Dave Clawson. I'm going to put Dabo at the top. I don't have any problem with that. But what Dave Clawson is the quintessential I do more with less guy. Now,
what
Mike
do you
Norvell.
No. You're forgetting the man, the myth, the legend, Mac Brown.
Yeah. Well,
where are you putting old Mac?
The only reason I'm putting Dave Clawson up there is because of what, just basically that headline that he does more with less. Look at what he did with Sam Hartman before Hartman left. I mean, they scored and scored and scored at will. And I think North Carolina may have come back on them at the end of that game. I have to go back and look. But Mac Brown definitely deserves to be up there.
I mean, I just look at Mac and I think of how quickly he's turned around recruiting in North Carolina. I know last year was a disappointment, but instantaneously North Carolina suddenly had street cred in the recruiting ranks, not just in North Carolina, but in South Carolina, in Virginia. They were able to flip a lot of kids out of the DMV to go to UNC. I mean, you didn't see that on the football side of things at North Carolina for decades.
Well,
between
his time, yeah.
Well, I mean, they hit on 2 quarterbacks back to back. I mean, Sam Howell and then Drake May.
Drake May is a superstar.
I mean, he's a superstar. He'll be a top 5 pick next year.
Yeah, so Mac will be on the uptick this year if Drake May does what they expect him to do.
And you got to look at college football just like the NFL, which is a quarterback-driven league. If you've got the right quarterback and you put the pieces around him, you can go out there and win some games.
Yeah, and look, Mac at times has, he fights some of the things that are going on in college football right now, and he's old school, and I totally get it. But the fact that he was able to recruit, and I'm just going to put age on him because it's a factor.
Yeah.
When kids are making decisions on where do I want to be, is that the guy, they love his personality and the way he's approached it, and he's done a tremendous job in bringing them back.
Now, to your defense on Dave Clawson, all right, 6 of 7 winning seasons, ACC appearance, and Wake Forest has the smallest football budget in the ACC.
Yeah, that's a big
it's
one.
crazy
Yeah.
what he gets done.
I'll say that.
And
That's true.
and the fact that he was able to find Hartman and turn him into a star. Now, Hartman's now property of Notre Dame, and he's going to look real good in a fight in Irish uni. But he did great things. And so now you got to ask the question, Mike Norvell, is he on the ascent? Is he going to pass? And look, I'm only putting Clawson up there for that one reason.
And again, let's also clarify, is this a coach ranking or a coach-quarterback duo ranking?
Yeah, well, right now, if you have coach-quarterback combo, you're going to move Norvell up.
And you're going to move Mac Brown up.
Yeah, because of what Drake May is. Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, if you include the quarterback, Travis Jordan, I mean.
Jordan Travis,
Jordan Travis.
Yeah.
I mean, Florida State has to
So
be
let me
1
ask
or
you,
2.
Let me ask you that then,
Or 3.
Leon. Who would you put two? So Dabo, we're putting at the top, even with Cade Klubnik, kind of a question mark, just because.
And I like Klubnik, but I'd like to see a little bit more from that cat before I know he's good.
Who would you put ahead of each other, Mac Brown and Drake May, or Mike Norvell and Jordan Travis? Who's ahead?
Mac Brown
and Drake May.
Drake May.
Is that because of Drake May, or is that because of Mac Brown's resume?
100% because of Drake May.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, they thought last year, 38 touchdowns, something like that.
He went
crazy.
nuts.
He went crazy.
Let me see his numbers. He had 14 games. He threw it over 500 times, completed nearly 350 of them, so he's right at 2/3. He threw for 4,300 yards, 38 touchdowns, 7 picks.
Wow.
7 picks. And he has got an absolute hose. So he will be the pride of the ACC when this is all said and done this year, especially when it comes to draft rankings.
So I think those two, it's safe to say, I mean, it's they're 2 and 3.
Yeah.
With Dave Clawson. Dave Clawson also in the mix, but again, we don't know who his quarterback is.
Right. And, when you think about it, if they can Dabo Swinney made a change at the offensive coordinator position. He was quick to do that after elevating guys and giving them a chance. And if he can get Klubnik going, which he definitely needs to get him going, he was basically thrown into a big bowl fire when he went out there with that start.
Which he wasn't afraid to make the switch at the quarterback position either. And I'll give him credit for that because – I mean, people thought he was a little nuts when Trevor Lawrence was thrust into the starting role, even though, you had seen the flashes when he was brought in certain packages in the first 4 games of the season, his rookie year, or his freshman year, excuse me.
Dabo goes 11-3 and has a down season.
Isn't that something? Isn't that something?
Hey, JJ, you take 11-3 this year, man?
Oh, my God. Absolutely.
The short time that Klubnik has had a chance to be on the field, he's completing about 60% of his passes. And he's more interceptions than touchdowns right now. And it's because, like I said, he was thrown into that big stage fire as far as playing in a big bowl game. But I do think Dabo will respond, and that offense will respond. And so where would you put Mario in the middle of the pack?
I'd put Mario after that.
I will put Mario behind all those. I'll put Mario right there in the middle, between either 5 or 6, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I mean, because, first of all, the hype train that came with Mario leaving Oregon, coming to Miami, and then the derailment of the hype train when they went 5 and 7, because the notion was that Mario comes, he's going to change the culture, he's going to change these guys, he's going to get them right, but he was working with other guys' and couldn't recruit and couldn't hit the transfer portal. And I'm not making excuses for him. It sounds like I am, but. Listen, I was drinking the Kool-Aid. I was all in. I was in the deep end of the pool, swimming. And then when we lose,
well, that's also because you thought Tyler Van Dyke was going to take the next step.
Yes,
and then he had a terrorist as his offensive coordinator.
He did, absolutely. And you can't lose him into the state.
No.
You can't lose him into the state. You can't lose him. You can't lose to Duke the way you lost.
And so I think.
Yeah, let's talk about Joe's boy, Mike Elko.
Yeah, I love Mike Elko, and he's got a good quarterback too. And if you're thinking about what they can do,
I'd put them. Yeah. Honestly, I would put Mike Elko. I would have put him ahead of Vadino, obviously ahead of Tony Elliott and Brent Pry, because both are unproven.
Well, it's funny that he would fall into the same category that I'm putting Dave Clawson in. You are correct in that they don't put a lot of budget in the football offices. They do more with less. And the thing is that David Cutcliffe did such a good job for such a long time, and then it just slowly eroded, and it was time to move on. And then they make a good hire in Mike Elko. We were trying to get him on with some of the draft choices that were made here. They make a good hire in him, and then he goes out and he gets this Riley Leonard kid. And I'm taking a look at his numbers, and he's the guy that's going to be that heir apparent guy. And he came kind of out of the back end of the season, and definitely was a surprise.
Yeah, no, I would put him ahead of, even Brent Key, who was able to at least salvage a 500 record when he took over after Jeff Collins got fired at Georgia Tech. I would put him ahead of him. I'd put him ahead of Jeff Brom just because we've seen what he did at Purdue.
Yeah.
We don't know what he will do at Louisville. We also don't know what the heck Scott Satterfield left in Louisville. That could be a landmine Mike Norvell in 2020 at Florida State situation. So, no, I'd put Mike Elko. I mean, there's an argument that could be made he's ahead of Mario, quite frankly, at this juncture. And he's right behind that upper tier of guys we talked about.
Yeah.
Dave Doran and Pat Narduzzi are interesting situations just
Narduzzi's
because
a dang good coach.
I think Narduzzi is a great coach. Good dude, great coach. Another guy who does more with less, obviously.
My friend Richie says he likes to party.
Yeah, and Pitt obviously invests a little bit more on the football side than North Carolina and Duke do compared to their basketball programs, but not all that much.
Yeah, and
I mean, considering Pitt went out and hired Jeff Capel, a Mike Krzyzewski's disciple, and invested in their basketball program.
Oh, yeah.
And yet Pat just keeps chugging along, and as long as he wins 7 to 8 games, they're happy. I mean, I don't want to make the comparison, but I will. Pitt is the Iowa of the ACC.
Well, but they get to the championship game probably more than people give them credit for.
Iowa gets to the championship game every third year, but continue.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, though.
Yeah,
Honestly, they
yeah.
can't score.
Yeah,
and so, honestly, that's the knock on
Hey,
them.
Pitt's got a great defense.
Yeah.
Iowa's got a great
And
defense.
Narduzzi
And as
does-
long as they win, as long
Yeah.
as Pat wins 7 to 9 games,
Yeah.
everything keeps plugging along.
But Narduzzi got knocked a little bit for not creating a whole lot of offense, and then when they got Kenny Pickett, they definitely did, and they had success there. And so he is a good coach. He's the one who we probably get into this a little bit later on, maybe later in the weekly on, but he was very critical of that transfer portal movement out in Colorado. He did not like what was going down with Deion, but Deion needed to clean that mess up out there.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a problem with it at all, at all.